Venezuela's new National Assembly was installed this Tuesday with 277 lawmakers taking up their seats in Parliament. Millions have already cast their votes in the two Senate runoff races in the US state of Georgia that will determine whether the Republicans or the Democrats control the Senate. Iran seized a South Korean flagged oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz, stressing that it was violating environmental laws. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Katrina Goss. This Tuesday, members of Venezuela's new National Assembly took their seats, while the leadership of the legislative branch was elected and sworn in. Diosdado Cabello, the designated leader of the majority Homeland Parliamentary Bloc, presented the nominees for the posts of President, Vice Presidents, Secretary and Deputy Secretary of the National Assembly. As was announced on Monday, Jorge Rodriguez, former Vice President for Communications, Culture and Tourism, was nominated for President of the National Assembly by the parties making up the Great Patriotic Pole Alliance, which secured a majority in the Parliament. Jorge Rodriguez's nomination was supported by the majority of lawmakers this Tuesday, and he was sworn in along with the rest of the elected leadership of the new National Assembly. Iris Varela was elected first Vice President, Didalco Bolivar was confirmed as second Vice President, Rosabo Gil as Secretary, and Inti Hinojosa as Deputy Secretary of the newly installed National Assembly of Venezuela. And the newly elected president of Venezuela's National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, called for national unity and dialogue and stressed the importance of the fight against corruption as key challenges facing the new parliament.
This is installation for the recovery, and we have proven this in the last 5 years. This is the stage of rebuilding. When you build the life of your son, and you turn your son in a man of good, you know how valuable is that to build a life, to build a building, to build some ideas. To destroy is very easy. It is enough if you lack moral. It is enough if you use psychopathic structures of your personality to reach the level of the directive board of the past National Assembly.
And prior to the inauguration ceremony of the new National Assembly, elected deputies participated in an act loaded with symbolism as they carried portraits of Simón Bolívar and Hugo Chavez, whose images were removed from the Parliament Hall by members of the former opposition-led National Assembly. The official inauguration of the new Assembly was presided over by the oldest lawmaker among those elected, Fernando Soto Rojas, who declared the session opened, verified the quorum, explained the procedures of the day and formally decreed the installation of the new Parliament. And this Tuesday, Venezuela enters a new political stage with the renewal of its parliament and the triumph of the Great Patriotic Pole Alliance. With this move, the country hopes to leave behind one of its worst political crises, sparked by the attacks and conspiracies of an extreme sector of the opposition, with the support of the United States and other foreign allies. Our correspondent, Madeline Garcia, brings us more details.
4 years ago, this was the scenario of the so-called guarimbas of 2017. With the excuse of earlier celebration of presidential elections, opposition lawmakers promoted violence to overthrow President Nicolás Maduro.
The electoral schedule should be revised out in the open, and the presidential elections should be held earlier so that the people can vote.
There were 4 months of terrorist acts which left more than 140 people killed, at least 25 burned alive for being supporter of the government. Young Orlando Figuera was one of them. Her mother is still in tears. The pain for the loss is intact.
The fact that we are poor doesn't mean that we are not human beings, and as Orlando told me, they killed him for being poor.
The violence ended with the election of the National Constituent Assembly that built a platform for peace, a peace that was stolen by the opposition that won the parliament with the promise of an alleged victory that never happened. In 2015, there was an intentional shortage of food and medicines. The purpose of the opposition was not political, it was always economic. After demanding the advance of the presidential elections, they kicked the dialogue table held with the support of the Dominican Republic of the 2018 non-party election. But another opposition sector did. Two opposing candidates met with Nicolás Maduro, who won the re-election. 3 months after the presidential election, an attack with drones almost killed the Venezuelan president. The attempt failed, but the United States and its allies played a new card on the table, an alleged interim government with the unconstitutional self-proclamation of Juan Guaidó as president. They tried to invade Venezuela with excuse of the alleged humanitarian. On April 30, 2019, they failed an attempt coup d'etat that divided the opposition even more. Meanwhile, Donald Trump enforced the blockade and illegal sanctions, and with the Guaidó's shadows government, they stole the Venezuelan state company PDVSA Citgo, located in the United States, and other assets. On January 5, 2020, Juan Guaidó wanted to impose him again as president of the parliament to continue his farce as a self-proclaimed president. He started a show, a shocking act of persecution, who was elected as the new president of the assembly. Also, the opposition Luis Parra, who together with at least 83 deputies, decided to distance from Guaidó in disagreement with Guaidó's subordination to U.S. interests. This was when the parliamentary elections were held and the less radical opposition participated. 14,400 candidates from 107 political parties took part. On December 6th, the Venezuelan people decided. But a new plan was dismantled that aimed at obstructing the inauguration of the new parliament. It was the boycott of the National Assembly. According to the government of Venezuela, it was specifically in early December, with a visit to Colombia of Leopoldo López, fugitive of the Venezuelan justice, who met with Iván Duque and Álvaro Uribe. 2 encounters was taken, one in Bogotá and the other in Rio Hacha.
They were told the list of activities to be carried out, which are attack on the Guri, attack on the Amauri refinery, the assassination of a governor, which had not been completed, then the assassination of prosecutor Tarek William Saab, and the taking of the National Assembly and key points in the city of Caracas.
3 Colombian intelligence agents allegedly participated, and the government of Venezuela is offering $500,000 of reward for his whereabouts.
Gerson Rojas, aka Berlin, said at the meeting that he received orders from Iván Duque, Álvaro Uribe Vélez, and Leopoldo López to introduce in Venezuela 20 drones, 10 explosive drones, and 10 machine gun drones to attack political objectives.
Finally, on January 5th, as dictated by the Constitution with 277 deputies, the new National Assembly will be installed.
Madeline García, TeleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
This Tuesday is election day in the US state of Georgia, where millions have already cast their votes in the 2 Senate runoff races that will determine whether the Republicans or the Democrats control the US Senate. Republicans are banking on strong voter turnout to re-elect Senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue and maintain control of the chamber, while Democrats have pinned their hopes on John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. The states have drawn hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign spending to a once solidly Republican state that has become the nation's leading battleground. President-elect Joe Biden won Georgia's crucial 16 electoral votes by about 12,000 votes out of 5 million cast in November. President Donald Trump, however, is continuing to voice false allegations of widespread fraud that even his now former Attorney General and Georgia's Republican Secretary of State, along with a long list of state and federal judges, have said did not happen.
I just believe that everyone should vote. I feel like it's our duty, and regardless of how you feel about the issues or if you're ambivalent, you should still vote. Because I believe that you should always vote, I kind of at the last minute chose who I would vote for and voted anyway, even though I was tempted to just not vote at all because of how turned off I was of how the election, how this situation was handled.
It's very important time to come vote, you know. This time is really, really important, you know, because all that going on, you know, Republican and Democrats, so you can change the future of this country.
I usually vote Republican across the board, but this time I went Democratic. I thought they were more capable, okay.
I'm a Republican, they're a Republican, so I keep with my whoever I vote for.
Residents of the Scottish capital, Edinburgh, have reacted to Scotland re-entering a full lockdown after a sharp and rapid rise in COVID-19 cases, as the United Kingdom also faces a new and more contagious strain of the virus.
I'm not surprised it's happened again. I think that we probably should have locked down earlier last year to avoid this. I do think it's quite tough. We've been working from home for nearly a year now, so just trying to come out for walks as often as we can. I feel more prepared this time though, so I think it's kind of impacted me a little less this time, but it's still quite a struggle for your mental health and things like that. Yeah, on the walk down here I was saying, I think it's going to impact particularly maybe things like hotels who would normally have city breaks at this time of year. Obviously pubs that are all shut, and this is probably quite a busy time, even though Edinburgh's usually quiet at this time of year. A lot of folk will come to city break and Christmas shop and sales and things like that. So I think it will have quite a big impact on the city.
Done before Christmas. Never mind this leeway over Christmas for families to meet. Should have been stopped. This is where it's all kicking off from again. This should have been over and done with ages ago. It's just people not behaving themselves. Pubs open and they've got a chancellor help out to eat out. Helping half-price meals and all this. This was a nonsense.
I also think they should actually be stopping people coming in from other countries. We're not allowed to go out to anywhere else, but there seem to be letting. I mean, we've got loads of people round here that are in Airbnbs. That shouldn't be allowed. They should be stopping all this. This is how they're never going to get a handle on this virus until everybody's in total lockdown.
Germany on Tuesday prolonged and toughened its partial lockdown with stricter limits on social contacts as Europe's top economy struggles to curb high coronavirus infection rates. Chancellor Angela Merkel announced after talks with leaders of Germany's 16 states that schools, leisure and sporting facilities and non-essential shops will remain shut through to January 31st. People will be allowed to meet up with only one other individual from another household under the new rules, instead of 5 people previously. Those residing in districts where new infections are above 200 per 100,000 people over the last 7 days will be banned from travelling beyond a 15-kilometre radius of the zones. Merkel admitted the measures were drastic and would pose difficulties, but stressed they were necessary to bring infections down to a more sustainable rate. French authorities announced that one of the organisers of a mass rave which brought together over 2,000 people, despite a coronavirus curfew and other restrictions, has been arrested.
The first of the organizers, who was identified and questioned on Saturday, who finally admitted the facts, was presented this afternoon to the investigating judges who indicted him. We have requested his provisional imprisonment in order to rule out any consultation with the other organizers and because of the weakness of his guarantees of legal representation. The first of the organizers. He has now been charged with unlawfully organizing the event, damaging the property of others, endangering the lives of others, opening an unlicensed drinking establishment, performing concealed work and aiding and abetting the use of narcotics by others.
Iran seized a South Korean flagged oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz, representing the latest in a string of maritime incidents that continue to raise tensions in one of the world's most important shipping lanes. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said it detained the Hankook Chemi vessel at 10 a.m. local time on Monday due to repeated violations of marine environmental laws. Meanwhile, a South Korean warship with an anti-piracy unit has moved close to the Strait of Hormuz. The incident comes amid tensions over Iranian funds frozen in South Korean banks because of US sanctions. Several vessels have been attacked or seized in recent years in the Persian Gulf, and tensions in the region are mounting in the final days of Donald Trump's presidency. The head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization announced that the country can produce about 9 kilograms of 20% enriched uranium per month. Iran said Tuesday it had stepped up its uranium enrichment amid heightened tensions with the United States and after seizing a South Korean tanker in strategic Gulf waters. The Islamic Republic said it was now refining uranium to 20% purity, far above the level permitted under its 2015 agreement with world powers, but significantly below the 90% required for an atomic bomb. In another step that responds to the failure of global powers to comply with their obligations, according to the landmark nuclear deal, following the unilateral withdrawal of the United States in 2018 and the reimposition of crippling sanctions against Iran. Kuwait on Monday announced that Saudi Arabia was to lift a years-long embargo on Qatar, opening its air and land borders in the first steps toward ending the Gulf crisis. The state has been mediating between Qatar and 4 Arab states that launched an embargo in mid-2017 over Qatar's support for Islamist groups in the region and its warm ties with Iran. The announcement came on the eve of a summit of Gulf Arab leaders in Saudi Arabia that will be chaired by Saudi King Salman. Qatar's ruler is now expected to attend the summit for the first time since the embargo. An Iranian Foreign Minister, Mohammad Javad Zarif, congratulated Qatar on Twitter this Tuesday after Saudi Arabia and its allies restored full relations with Doha following a landmark summit. The move brought an end to a damaging rift that erupted in 2017. The Iranian Foreign Minister assured Arab countries that the Islamic Republic was neither an enemy nor a threat. Indian farmers continue to protest in New Delhi despite heavy rain against the government-backed agricultural reforms that they say will lead to the dismantling of regulated markets, threatening the country's food sovereignty and their livelihoods as they're left at the mercy of big corporations. The ongoing and wide-scale protest started on November 26.
My family has only sent me. They said, don't worry until they take the laws back. Don't come back until the laws are repealed. We'll face the government with courage. My family has given their blessings. We work in the rain, we work in the water the whole day. We don't care about the rain or the slush. We have no problem. It can rain as much as it wants. We are not worried. Our demands should be fulfilled. That's what we thought while coming here. Otherwise, we won't go back home.
A statue of Iran's most respected military commander Qasem Soleimani was unveiled in the southern suburbs of the Lebanese capital Beirut this Tuesday. The Major General of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and commander of its Quds Force was killed in a US drone strike in Baghdad in January 2020 alongside the Deputy Chairman of Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces, Commander Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis. Recent weeks have seen tributes in Iraq, Lebanon and Palestine to Soleimani as the anniversary of his assassination approached. The Iraqi parliament has also reiterated its call for the withdrawal of US troops from the country.
We inaugurate this statue today in the presence of political officials and artists as a loving tribute to this martyr and as a commemoration of his memory, because he is one of the great men who defended this country. As a resistant society, we are proud to name our streets and squares after the martyr Haj Qasem Soleimani, because he stood by Lebanon during wars, and he is the one who protected Lebanon with his weapons and missiles. This statue represents the martyr Qasem Soleimani, along with all his soldiers who destroyed the disbelievers, Wahhabis and Zionists, and all their projects in the region.
And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And you can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss, and thank you for watching.